The cold wind swept across the barren plains, carrying with it a quiet, almost painful silence. Lila sat beside her mother, staring at the still, lifeless form of the alien that had raised her since she could remember. Her mother's eyes, once glowing softly in the dark, were now dim and empty. Lila's small hands trembled as she reached out, but there was nothing she could do. She was alone. Completely, utterly alone. The alien city around them, usually full of vibrant colors and hums of strange machines, was eerily silent. Broken ships and twisted metal lay scattered across the ground. Smoke curled up from distant fires, painting the sky with dark, heavy streaks. Lila's mother had tried to protect her until the last moment, but a sudden attack had caught them by surprise. Lila didn't understand everything that had happened. She only knew one thing: she had to survive. Her stomach growled. Hunger had been her constant companion for the last 2 days, but now it seemed worse. Lila had no idea where to find food or water. Every corner of the ruined city felt dangerous. Strange sounds echoed through the streets, sometimes like whispers, sometimes like claws scraping metal. Her mother had always told her to stay calm, to trust her instincts, but with her gone, Lila didn't even know how to start. Suddenly, a noise came from behind a pile of debris. Lila froze. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought the attackers might hear it. She squinted into the shadows, trying to see what had moved. Something small and quick darted past her feet. Lila screamed, jumping back. The creature, or whatever it was, paused, sniffed the air, then disappeared into the smoke. She realized she was not as alone as she had thought. Fear and curiosity battled inside her. She looked at her mother one last time and whispered, "I will find help. I promise." The words felt strange, almost powerless, but she needed to say them. Lila pushed herself up, brushing the dirt off her torn clothes. Every step she took made her knees shake. Her mind raced with questions: where should I go? Who can I trust? Will anyone help me? Hours passed as she wandered through the ruined city, each corner hiding a new danger. Broken drones floated in the air, their sensors scanning the streets. A faint hum came from one of the buildings, maybe a power source, maybe something worse. Lila pressed herself against a wall, trying not to breathe too loudly. Her eyes searched desperately for a way out. Then, she saw it. A faint light in the distance. Not the pale, cold glow of the city lights, but a warm, soft light, almost human. Could it be help? Lila's heart leapt, but she reminded herself to be careful. The attackers could still be around. She moved slowly, keeping low, until she reached the edge of the street. There, standing under the light, was a human stranger. He looked tall and strong, with eyes that seemed kind but cautious. He was watching the ruins, almost as if he knew what had happened. Lila wanted to call out, but her voice caught in her throat. The stranger stepped closer, noticing her hiding spot. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked gently, his voice cutting through the eerie silence like a warm knife. Lila froze. No one had ever spoken to her like that, no one, not since her mother's death. The stranger knelt slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "Come out. You don't have to be alone." Lila hesitated. Her instincts told her to run, but her body felt weak from hunger and exhaustion. Slowly, she took a step forward. The stranger smiled softly. "That's it. You're safe now." He reached into his pack and pulled out a small container of water and a piece of bread. Lila's eyes widened. She hadn't eaten in days. She took the bread with trembling hands and drank greedily from the water. Every bite gave her a tiny spark of hope, reminder that maybe, just maybe, there was someone who could help her survive. But even as she ate, Lila knew one thing for certain: the dangers were far from over. She couldn't stay here forever. The city had eyes and ears everywhere, and whatever had killed her mother might still be hunting. Yet for the first time since that terrible morning, she felt a tiny spark of courage. Maybe, with the human stranger, she had a chance. The wind howled again, carrying with it the faint echoes of distant screams. Lila shivered but held on to the stranger's hand. Together, they stepped into the shadows of the ruined city, moving cautiously toward the unknown. Somewhere in the distance, hope waited, and for the first time in days, Lila dared to believe that she might survive. The human's name was Caden, though Lila only learned it after hours of silence. He moved like someone who had survived countless dangers, his eyes scanning every street, every shadow. Lila tried to keep up, but her small legs ached and her stomach still protested. Hunger and fear had made her weaker than she remembered, but Caden's calm presence made her feel just a little safer. "This city, it's not safe," Caden said quietly, pointing to the blackened streets. "Whatever attacked your mother could still be here." Lila shivered. She had not spoken much since finding him. Words felt heavy, as if speaking would make the danger closer. They moved cautiously through the broken alleys, avoiding the scattered wrecks of alien machines. Smoke curled like restless ghosts, hiding unseen threats. Lila noticed the strange marks on the ground, deep scratches that seemed too large for any normal creature. Her stomach tightened. Could it be the same thing that killed my mother? Suddenly, a low growl echoed from behind them. Lila froze. Caden stopped too, his eyes narrowing. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The growl grew louder, followed by the scraping sound of claws on metal. Something large was moving fast, stalking them through the shadows. Lila's heart raced. A pair of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, reflecting the faint light of the ruined city. The creature was massive, taller than any alien Lila had ever seen, with jagged armor-like scales covering its body. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing sharp, glinting teeth. It smelled of fire and decay. Caden didn't hesitate. He pulled a small device from his belt and activated a bright pulse of light. The creature recoiled, screeching, but it didn't run. Instead, it circled them, moving like a predator testing its prey. Lila's breath came in shallow gasps. She wanted to scream, but she knew it would only draw the creature closer. "You have to trust me," Caden said firmly. "Move when I say." He led her through a narrow corridor of fallen buildings, weaving carefully to avoid the creature. Lila followed, each step heavier than the last, her fear clashing with the tiny spark of hope that Caden had given her. After what felt like hours, they reached a ruined building that seemed untouched by the attack. Caden pushed aside the debris at the entrance, revealing a dark, hidden passage beneath. "This will lead us out of the city," he explained. "It's not safe, but it's the best chance we have." Lila nodded, too exhausted to argue. Inside, the air was damp and cold. Shadows stretched across the walls, creating shapes that seemed almost alive. Lila's imagination ran wild, seeing faces in the dark, hands reaching for them. Every sound made her jump, drips of water, creaking metal, and distant echoes that might have been the creature outside, still searching. Caden stopped suddenly. "Listen," he whispered. Lila strained her ears. Faint whispers carried through the tunnels, words she could not understand, but the tone made her blood run cold. They were not human, not alien, something else. Something intelligent. Lila hugged herself tightly, wishing her mother were there. Hours passed as they navigated the labyrinthine passages. Hunger gnawed at her, but fear kept her moving. At one point, they found a small cache of supplies left behind by someone long gone. Caden handed her a small piece of dried food. "Eat. You'll need your strength." Lila hesitated, then took a bite. It was bitter and strange, but it filled her stomach enough to give her a small spark of energy. As they moved deeper into the tunnels, the whispers grew louder. Strange symbols marked the walls, glowing faintly in the dim light. Caden paused to study them. These markings, they're warnings. Whoever lived here wanted to keep something in, or keep it out. Lila's pulse quickened. The thought of unseen creatures lurking in the shadows made her want to run, but she stayed close to Caden, feeling the warmth of his presence like a shield. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the tunnel walls groaned. "We have to move faster," Caden urged. Lila stumbled, but he caught her hand, steadying her. The rumble grew louder, echoing like the roar of some giant beast. Something enormous was moving underground, something that had felt their presence and now hunted them. Fear and adrenaline mixed into a strange clarity. Lila realized that her survival depended on staying calm, listening to Caden, and trusting him completely. The girl who had been abandoned beside her mother's lifeless body was now running through the darkness, her small hand gripping the stranger's, trying to stay alive against dangers she had never imagined. Finally, they reached a faint light at the end of the tunnel. The exit. But as they stepped into the open, Lila froze. The ruined city stretched before them like a graveyard, and in the distance, the massive creature from before waited, its glowing eyes fixed on them. It had followed them out. Caden pulled Lila behind a broken wall. "We're not safe yet," he said. "But we've made it this far. We'll find a way." Lila looked at him, seeing determination in his eyes. For the first time, she didn't feel completely helpless. There was hope, a fragile, flickering hope, but it was enough. The wind swept through the city once more, carrying with it the distant sound of the creature's roar. Lila clutched Caden's arm. They had survived so far, but the journey had only just begun. Somewhere in the shadows, dangers waited, and she knew that every step forward would test her courage, her strength, and the bond forming between a human and a girl whose world had been shattered. The ruined city behind them seemed endless, its broken towers stretching toward a gray sky like jagged teeth. Lila's small hand stayed firmly in Caden's as they ran, the sounds of the creature's growls echoing through the empty streets. Her heart pounded so fast that she felt it in her throat. Every shadow, every flicker of movement, made her jump. The city that had once been alive now felt like a trap, every corner hiding death. Caden didn't look back, though. His focus was sharp, his steps careful. "We have to reach the outer wastelands," he said quietly. "There's a place humans and aliens sometimes use to hide, safe, at least for now." Lila nodded, too terrified to speak. She didn't know if they would make it. She only knew that she had to try. The creature emerged from a side street, faster than she had imagined. Its massive claws scraped against the broken pavement, sending sparks flying. Its glowing eyes locked onto them. Lila froze for a moment, and Caden grabbed her, dragging her behind a collapsed wall. The creature's screech tore through the air. The sound was not just fear, it was hunger, intelligence, and rage combined. "This way," Caden whispered, pulling her through a narrow alley she hadn't noticed before. The walls were cracked, some almost ready to fall, but it was their only path. They ran, their footsteps echoing in the dead city. Dust choked the air, and Lila coughed, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. They reached a wide street, littered with the remains of alien ships. Caden scanned the area. "We can't go straight," he said. "Too open. It will see us immediately. We have to be smart." Lila shivered as she realized the city wasn't just dangerous, it was a hunting ground. Every ruin, every shadow, every piece of debris could hide death. Suddenly, a sharp crash sounded above them. Part of a building collapsed, sending clouds of dust into the air. The creature was still hunting them, but something else moved in the shadows, small, quick, and almost invisible. Lila's eyes widened as she realized they were not the only survivors. Tiny figures darted across rooftops, watching silently. She couldn't tell if they were friends or more danger. Caden pulled her into a narrow tunnel beneath the ruins. The darkness was almost complete, and Lila's fear grew. But Caden's calm presence kept her moving. "Keep your eyes open," he whispered. "We're not safe yet." Lila nodded. Every sound was amplified in the tunnel: drips of water, distant clattering, and that constant growl of the creature following them. Hours seemed to pass as they crawled and ran through the labyrinth of underground passages. Lila's legs were scraped and bleeding, and hunger gnawed at her like a wild animal. But she refused to cry. She had survived this long. She had to keep going. Finally, they emerged from the tunnels into a hidden courtyard, overgrown with strange alien plants that glowed faintly in the darkness. Lila gasped at the sight. Somehow, it felt alive, like a secret world untouched by destruction. Caden scanned the area before letting her step forward. "We can rest here for a moment," he said. "But we can't stay long." Lila sank to the ground, exhaustion pulling her down. The courtyard was quiet, almost peaceful, but the memory of the creature waiting outside the ruins kept her on edge. She looked at Caden, her eyes full of questions she couldn't speak. Why had he come to help her? How could he face such dangers and still protect her? Caden handed her a small pack of supplies he had kept hidden. "Eat," he said softly. "You'll need your strength." Lila opened it to find dried food, water, and a small blanket. She ate quickly, feeling the energy return in small waves. As she ate, she noticed strange markings carved into the stones around the courtyard. They glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "These markings, they're old," Caden said, running his fingers over them. "They're warnings. Something tried to keep intruders away, or something kept trapped. We need to be careful." Lila's stomach twisted. She had thought the creature outside was the only danger. Now it seemed there were more threats, older and stranger than anything she had faced. The wind whispered through the courtyard, carrying distant sounds, footsteps, growls, and faint echoes of voices. Lila hugged her knees, feeling the weight of fear, exhaustion, and uncertainty. She had lost her mother, been hunted through a ruined city, and now faced unknown dangers she could barely understand. And yet, she felt a tiny spark of hope. Caden had kept her alive this far. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive the next challenge together. Suddenly, a shadow moved at the edge of the courtyard. Lila froze. Caden stood, ready, eyes narrowing. The shadow flickered, then disappeared. Something was watching them. Something patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. Lila felt her pulse quicken. The night was not over, and the dangers had only just begun. For the first time, Lila realized that survival was not just about running or hiding. It was about courage, trust, and learning to face the unknown. And with Caden by her side, she knew that she might just be able to face whatever horrors lay ahead. The courtyard was quiet now, but the silence was heavy, like the calm before a storm. Lila hugged the small blanket Caden had given her, her mind replaying the events of the past hours. The city outside was a ruin, filled with monsters and whispers, but even here, in this hidden refuge, danger lingered. Caden moved silently to the edge of the courtyard, scanning the shadows. "We're not alone," he said softly, almost to himself. Lila's eyes widened. "Not alone," she whispered. He nodded. "Something is watching us. Not like the creature from the city, something older. Smarter. Patient." His voice was steady, but the tension in his jaw betrayed him. Lila felt a shiver run down her spine. The glow from the alien markings in the stones pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat, and Lila couldn't shake the feeling that the walls themselves were alive. Suddenly, a faint rustling sound came from the overgrown plants. Lila jumped, clutching Caden's arm. He motioned for her to stay still. The rustling grew louder, and then a figure stepped into the courtyard, a small alien, unlike any Lila had seen before. Its skin shimmered faintly, like liquid metal, and its eyes glowed with a soft blue light. The alien froze, studying them. Caden didn't move, but Lila's curiosity got the better of her fear. Who are you?" she asked softly. The alien tilted its head. It didn't speak, at least not in words Lila could understand. But somehow, she felt its intent. It wasn't hostile. It was wary, cautious, and curious. Lila took a small step forward. The alien mirrored her movement. Caden finally spoke, his voice low. "It's safe, for now. But we don't know what it wants." Lila nodded, feeling an odd sense of connection with the alien. For the first time since her mother's death, she didn't feel completely alone. Before she could think further, a loud crash echoed from the tunnel entrance. The creature, the massive hunter from before, had found them. Its screech tore through the courtyard, shaking the stones beneath their feet. Lila froze, heart hammering. Caden grabbed her hand, pulling her behind a large stone statue. "Stay close," he whispered. The alien beside them hissed softly, its glowing eyes fixed on the creature. Then, to Lila's astonishment, it darted forward, moving faster than she could see. The creature roared as the alien leaped onto its back, claws glowing with some strange energy. Sparks flew as the attack struck true, forcing the beast to retreat. Lila's mouth dropped open. It saved us?" Caden nodded. "Yes. But this fight is not over. That creature won't give up easily. And whatever controls it, or sent it, might be closer than we think." His gaze swept the shadows, sharp and cautious. The alien returned to their side, bowing slightly toward Lila. She instinctively reached out, and for a brief moment, their hands touched. A warm, electric feeling ran through her. Somehow, she understood, the alien was offering help. She nodded, feeling an unspoken bond form. Caden finally spoke again. "We need to move. Now." He led them through a narrow passage that the alien seemed to know well. Lila stumbled, but the alien nudged her gently forward. The creature's distant roars echoed behind them, but they pressed on. As they moved, Lila's mind raced with questions. Why had her mother been attacked? Why was the city destroyed? And most importantly, what had Caden been doing here, in the middle of this chaos, all alone? She wanted answers, but the pressing need to survive kept her quiet. Hours later, they emerged into a strange valley hidden beyond the ruined city. The ground was dotted with glowing plants, and the air smelled faintly sweet, unlike the smoke-filled streets they had fled. Lila looked around in awe. For the first time, she felt a tiny spark of hope that they might find safety. But even here, she could sense danger. Shadows flitted in the corners of her vision. Strange whispers echoed from the distant hills, words she couldn't understand but felt deep in her bones. Caden tightened his grip on her hand. "This place is hiding more than it shows," he said. "We can rest for a moment, but stay alert. Everything here has a secret." Lila sank to the ground, exhausted, but her eyes stayed wide. The alien beside her pulsed softly with blue light, almost like a heartbeat. For the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt since her mother's death: trust. Maybe, with Caden and this mysterious creature, she could survive. Maybe she could even find answers. And yet, as the wind whispered through the valley, carrying a faint, chilling laughter that was not human, Lila knew one terrifying truth: the dangers were far from over. The city had taken her mother, hunted her, and tested her. But the true challenge, one that would test her courage, her strength, and the very limits of humanity, was just beginning. Lila clenched Caden's hand and looked at the alien. Together, they would face the unknown. But in the shadows of this strange valley, something watched, waited, and plotted. And the next move would change everything. The valley seemed peaceful at first, bathed in the soft glow of alien flora. Lila felt her body relax for the first time in days. But Caden's sharp gaze never wavered. Every shadow, every ripple of light, every whisper in the wind put him on edge. Lila clutched his hand tightly, sensing the tension even before he spoke. "Something is coming," Caden said, voice low but urgent. "We're not safe yet." That creature, it wasn't alone. Lila's stomach tightened. Alone? What do you mean? Caden didn't answer immediately. His eyes scanned the valley, and then he froze. A soft vibration ran through the ground, barely noticeable at first. But it grew stronger, like the pulse of a heartbeat, slow and deliberate. Lila felt it under her feet, a warning that something massive was moving toward them. From the distant hills, shadows began to shift and twist unnaturally. The alien beside them, still pulsing blue, hissed softly. Its eyes glowed brighter, signaling danger. Lila realized, with a shiver, that this was more than a hunt. It was a trap. Something intelligent, something patient, was planning their destruction. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Rocks tumbled down the slopes, and the distant roar of multiple creatures filled the valley. Lila stumbled, but Caden grabbed her just in time. "Run," he shouted. They sprinted through the glowing fields, the alien darting ahead to clear their path. But Lila's heart pounded, not just from fear, but from the strange beauty around them. Even in danger, the valley seemed alive, almost aware of their presence. Lila felt the pull of curiosity, but Caden's firm grip reminded her that survival was first. The first wave of attackers emerged from the shadows, creatures larger and faster than anything Lila had seen. Their scales shimmered under the faint light, and their eyes burned with intelligence and malice. They moved as a pack, circling, cutting off escape routes. Lila's breath came in sharp gasps. Every instinct screamed to run, but there was nowhere safe. Caden pulled out a small energy device, activating a bright shield around them. Sparks flew as the creatures lunged, but the shield held. Lila watched, awestruck, as Caden moved with precision, defending both her and the alien companion. It was the first time she realized he was more than just a stranger, he was a warrior, someone trained to survive impossible situations. The alien leaped forward, striking the creatures with blinding speed. Each movement was fluid and calculated. Lila could hardly keep up with the action in her mind, but she felt a surge of hope. Together, they could survive this. But deep down, Lila knew that this fight was only a warning, the true danger was yet to come. Amidst the chaos, a strange sound pierced the air, a low, melodic hum. The creatures paused, their glowing eyes flickering. Lila turned and saw it, a massive shadow rising from the far end of the valley. It moved slowly, deliberately, exuding power and control over the smaller creatures. Its form was massive, armored in obsidian-like scales, and its eyes burned with an unnatural light. Caden pulled Lila behind a large rock. That's not natural," he whispered. "Whatever that is, it's controlling them. We need to stay hidden." Lila's fear spiked, but something inside her shifted. She had survived this long, lost her mother, and faced dangers she never imagined. And now, she realized that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was acting despite it. She looked at the alien beside her, feeling a silent promise forming between them. They would fight. They would survive. The massive shadow moved closer, its presence warping the very air around it. The creatures at its command circled them like a net tightening. Lila's heart raced faster than ever. Caden's eyes met hers, and for a moment, words weren't needed. They would face this together. Then, just as the shadow prepared to strike, the alien pulsed brightly, releasing a surge of energy that pushed the smaller creatures back. Sparks and flashes filled the valley, illuminating every corner. Lila felt a strange warmth spread through her body as if the alien's power resonated with her. She didn't understand how, but for the first time, she felt like she could be part of the fight, not just a victim. Caden seized the moment. "Now," he shouted. He led Lila and the alien through a narrow canyon, narrowly escaping the massive shadow's reach. Rocks tumbled behind them, and the roar of frustration echoed through the valley. Lila gasped for breath, exhilarated and terrified at the same time. As they finally slowed, hidden in the shadows of the canyon, Lila realized something important: survival wasn't just about running. It was about trust, courage, and embracing the unknown. And for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, they had a chance to fight back, not just survive. But even in the safety of the canyon, Lila knew one truth: the shadow was still out there, waiting, and the real battle, the one that would test every ounce of courage, every shred of hope, was only beginning. The canyon was quiet now, but it felt like the calm before an impossible storm. Lila's heart still pounded from the chase, and her legs ached, yet she refused to stop. Caden's eyes never left the mouth of the canyon. He was tense, alert, every muscle ready for action. The alien beside them pulsed faintly, glowing in short bursts like a warning. "They're coming," Caden whispered. "The shadow isn't alone. It's testing us, feeling our strength. We need to be ready for anything." Lila gripped his hand tightly, trying to steady her trembling body. She could feel the alien's energy radiating around her, a strange warmth that made her feel alive, stronger, more focused. Fear had been her constant companion, but now it was mixed with determination. She would not run forever. She had to fight. From the canyon entrance, a wave of creatures surged forward. They moved with terrifying coordination, cutting off every escape route. Their glowing eyes reflected the faint light from the alien flora scattered in the canyon. Lila's stomach twisted, but Caden's presence calmed her, grounding her in the moment. "Stay close," Caden shouted. He activated a small energy shield that shimmered in the dim light, blocking the first attack. Sparks flew as claws and jagged scales slammed against it. Lila gasped. The creatures were relentless, faster and stronger than anything she had imagined. The alien leaped into the fray, moving with fluid grace, striking creatures with flashes of blue energy. Lila's eyes widened as it attacked, not with rage, but precision. Every move counted. Every strike mattered. She realized, in that moment, that she was witnessing something extraordinary. The alien wasn't just fighting, it was guiding them, protecting them, teaching them. But then, a deep, chilling roar echoed through the canyon. The shadow had arrived. It moved like a mountain of darkness, enormous and terrifying. Its obsidian-like scales shimmered with an unnatural light, and its eyes burned with pure intelligence and malice. The creatures around it bowed in obedience, their attacks halting as they waited for its command. Caden pulled Lila behind a jagged rock. That's it," he whispered. "That's the one controlling everything. It's smarter than the rest. And stronger." The shadow's gaze fixed on them, and Lila felt its presence in her bones, a weight, a threat, a warning. She swallowed hard, but she refused to let fear dominate her. For the first time, she felt a spark of courage, tiny, fragile, but real. The shadow moved forward, and the ground seemed to tremble beneath each step. The creatures attacked again, but Caden and the alien were ready. Energy shields, precise strikes, and rapid maneuvers kept them alive. Lila watched, mesmerized, as Caden fought with a calm that seemed impossible, as if every move had been calculated before the danger even appeared. Then, a creature broke through, slamming into Caden. Lila screamed, but the alien reacted instantly, emitting a pulse of energy that sent the attacker flying. Caden staggered but caught Lila, pulling her out of harm's way. "We're not done yet," he said, his voice steady but urgent. "We have to move forward. Now." Lila nodded. Despite exhaustion, fear, and hunger, she knew he was right. Running had kept them alive, but only courage and action could save them now. They advanced slowly, carefully, through the narrow canyon, the shadow and its army close behind. Suddenly, a narrow crevice opened above the canyon floor. Lila noticed faint symbols etched into the stone walls, glowing patterns that pulsed in sync with the alien's energy. "Look," she shouted. Caden followed her gaze. "Those markings, they're a guide. Maybe a path to escape, or a weapon." The alien pulsed brighter, reacting to the symbols. Lila realized that they were connected. Some ancient force within the valley was helping them. The alien leaped to the wall, touching the markings, and suddenly a beam of light shot across the canyon, cutting off part of the Shadow's army. The creatures screeched and recoiled. Caden seized the moment. "This is it. Keep moving toward the light." He led Lila and the alien toward the glowing path. Each step was a battle, every corner held danger, but the light offered hope, a fragile promise of survival. The shadow roared in fury, massive and terrifying, shaking the canyon walls. Its glowing eyes burned with rage, its form larger and more menacing than ever. Yet, as Lila ran beside Caden, feeling the alien's energy surge within her, she realized something incredible: they were not powerless. Together, they had a chance. For the first time since her mother's death, Lila felt the stirrings of hope. Courage wasn't about never being afraid, it was about moving forward despite fear. And with Caden and the alien by her side, she knew they might survive this nightmare. But deep down, she also knew, the shadow was relentless, cunning, and patient. The true battle, the one that would decide everything, was still ahead. As the glowing path stretched before them, the shadow's roar echoed through the canyon like a promise of destruction. Lila gripped Caden's hand tighter, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it. Together. The glowing path stretched endlessly before them, pulsing like the heartbeat of the valley. Lila's small hand remained tightly clasped in Caden's, and the alien companion moved just ahead, its blue light bright and steady. The shadow's roar echoed behind them, reverberating through the canyon, shaking the ground beneath their feet. "This is it," Caden said quietly, his jaw tight. "We face it now. There's no running." Lila's stomach twisted with fear, but beneath the fear, a spark of determination burned. She had survived hunger, monsters, and death itself. She would not fail now. Not when her mother's memory and the lives of those depending on them hung in the balance. Ahead, the shadow waited, massive and terrifying. Its obsidian-like scales reflected the faint glow of the valley, and its eyes burned like molten fire. The creatures that had followed it from the ruined city crouched at its sides, growling in anticipation. It was patient, intelligent, and clearly aware of the growing power of its adversaries. The alien beside Lila pulsed rapidly, energy surging through the ground and lighting the symbols etched into the canyon walls. Lila felt a strange warmth in her chest, almost like the alien's power was connecting with her own fear, her courage, her very soul. She didn't fully understand it, but she felt stronger. Braver. Alive. Caden dropped into a defensive stance. "Stay behind me," he ordered. But Lila shook her head. "I'm not hiding anymore," she said. Her voice was small, but firm. "I want to help." Caden's eyes widened in surprise, but then he nodded. "All right. Together." The shadow lunged first, its massive claws tearing the ground as it moved. The creatures surged forward, but the alien leaped into action, striking them with precision and force. Sparks of blue energy flared with every attack, sending the creatures flying. Lila's heart raced, but she realized the time had come to act. She reached out to the alien. Its glowing hand touched hers, and suddenly a surge of energy coursed through her. The valley pulsed with light, and Lila felt a connection she had never felt before: courage, strength, and determination flowing through her. For the first time, she was not just a survivor. She was part of something greater. Caden fought fiercely beside her, his energy shield deflecting the shadow's attacks while he moved with calculated precision. He caught Lila when she stumbled, then nodded. Now, he shouted. Together, they advanced. The alien's energy flared, Lila's newfound courage surged, and Caden's skill anchored them. They struck at the shadow's massive form from all sides. Sparks flew, the ground cracked, and the creatures faltered. The shadow roared in fury, its control over the minions weakening. Lila could see it. It was surprised, unprepared for the unity and determination of humans and allies. Then, the alien pulsed brighter than ever, sending a wave of energy through the shadow. Lila felt it resonate inside her, and instinctively, she focused all her courage, all her hope, into a single surge. The light exploded outward, blinding, pure, unstoppable. The shadow screamed, staggering backward. Its massive form began to crack, the darkness melting under the combined force of humanity's courage and the alien's power. Caden leaped forward, striking a final blow with the energy device he had kept hidden all along. Sparks and light collided, and the shadow let out one last ear-splitting roar before collapsing. The creatures that had served it froze, then fled into the darkness, leaving the valley eerily silent. Lila sank to the ground, trembling but alive. Caden knelt beside her, smiling faintly. "You did it," he said. "We did it." The alien pulsed softly, then touched Lila's shoulder. A warm glow spread through her body, filling her with a sense of peace and strength. She realized, in that moment, that the bond she shared with Caden and the alien was more powerful than fear, more powerful than despair. Together, they had faced the impossible, and won. Lila looked back toward the ruins of the city in the distance. Her mother was gone, but her sacrifice had not been in vain. Lila had survived. She had courage. She had allies. And she had a future. Caden helped her to her feet. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The universe is full of dangers, but also full of hope. We'll face it together." For the first time since her mother's death, Lila smiled. The valley around them shimmered with soft light, the symbols etched into the canyon walls glowing like stars. She felt alive, fearless, and ready to face whatever came next. Humanity, she realized, was not just a species, it was hope, courage, and the power to change the impossible into reality. The alien's soft blue glow pulsed once more, then began to fade, disappearing into the valley like a blessing. Lila turned to Caden. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "No, thank you. You reminded me why we fight. Why we survive. Why we hope." As the sun, or what passed for sunlight in this alien world, began to rise, Lila looked forward, toward the horizon. The journey had been long, terrifying, and painful. But she had discovered something incredible, that even in the darkest places, even when all hope seems lost, humanity can shine brighter than any shadow. And in that moment, Lila knew one truth for certain: she was not alone. She would never be alone again.